Hey everybody, what is up? This is Devin, LaVore, and
Michelle LaVore
coming at ya. And welcome to Relationship Mondays.
Yes.
Right?
It's exciting. Woo!
It is exciting. You know why? Because when God created us, He created us for what? Relationship with Him.
Yeah.
You know, and Adam named all the animals, right? And they all had pairs. And He looked and He was like, man, I'm the only one that doesn't have a pair. And God said, it is not good for man to be alone.
Yeah.
So He created him to have a relationship. It was always part of the plan anyway. So that was really just had nothing to do with anything. But but no, it addresses the issue that like so many, like Dean Sherman, when he taught my DTS, my Discipleship Training School on YWAM, he said every problem is a relationship problem.
Yeah.
Every problem is a relationship problem. And he went deeper into it. But today we figured we would kick off this Relationship Monday with a video just hitting the big topic. Is he the one?
Or is she the one?
Yeah. Because the Lord told me, ... You know what I mean?
Yeah, and so this really is a big question, especially
huge.
When you are single and you really are longing to get married. It pretty much is like the question, like, is this person the one? Is that person the one? And how am I going to know if we're supposed to get married? How am I, how do you navigate this whole relationship type, issue of dating and, figuring things out as you go along? And so it's definitely an area where there can be a lot of, there's high emotions already. Like when you're dealing with relationships and, the girl guy thing and ooh, maybe he likes me, maybe she likes me, and it stirs up emotion. And
a lot of excitement.
Imagination
and expectation.
Yeah. And that can be a very dangerous place to be in, because usually, at least from our experience, when you get excited about something, you can start to attach your ideas and what you think is going to happen to those feelings and emotions. And this is really across the board. Like it doesn't always have to be a just a relationship oriented thing. It could just be you're excited for something that God is going to do in your life, but because you have high excitement, you can start to believe things that aren't true of what He actually said.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely a place where you need to walk in humility, but also just really closely listening to the Lord and kind of really evaluating what you are hearing or what you're not hearing. Because it is an area that it can be easy to be deceived in.
Yeah. Anytime you have that high emotion and high excitement and whoa, ooh, I think the Lord's telling me this. Oh my gosh, that could be amazing.
Yeah.
And then you take off like a bottle rocket. It's like, uh-oh, you're in trouble.
Yeah. You want to talk about maybe a little bit of your experience?
Yeah, well, I made a whole video on it, and I will do my best to remember to link it because I've been mentioning a lot of videos that I haven't been linking. But it's why deception works and how I was deceived for 9 years. There's so much that goes into it about this girl I thought I was going to marry. And I honestly thought I was doing everything the right way, you're supposed to, get a word from the Lord. That's what I was told. You're supposed to get a word from the Lord. I mean, I was only like 4 years old in the Lord at the time. And so I was like, Lord, I really like this girl. I think this girl's awesome. And it was just like, I just heard this word. Are you willing to let me do in her first what I need to do? And I was like, yeah. He's like, well, then you can have her. And right there, right in that moment, I was like, no. Right there, that moment right there was something inside of me connected to God going, don't listen to that. That's not, but I wanted it so bad that I chucked that caution You know,
Yeah.
I took the, the fuse that goes to the light that's flashing on the dashboard. I just took the fuse out. You know,
Yeah.
I was just like, no, this is the Lord. This is the Lord. I'm gonna woohoo! And then I went off on it and just was constantly bouncing back and forth between, oh man, maybe it isn't the Lord. But then the high excitement will kick in, and I think either the enemy or ourselves, it doesn't matter, we begin to stir the flame.
Yeah.
And it gets going again, and we're like, woo, and then we're off again. And you put that kind of thing into a loyal personality type such as myself, and I'm sitting there believing it for 9 years. That's a long time, but it didn't seem like a long time to me.
Mm-hmm.
It just didn't. And so it's like, well, how do you know if she's the one or he's the one? Well, the problem is a lot of times we super mega over spiritualize it.
We do.
It's like, just because now the Bible says don't be unequally yoked. I get that. But there's also just this thing called compatibility.
Yeah.
Just because you're a Christian and she's a Christian or vice versa, that doesn't mean you need to be getting married.
Yeah.
Especially if you just like each other. Or, oh, we're good. There's so many times where the Lord would tell me no more than he would say yes. Of course, he never said yes except once.
Right.
You're looking at her. You know what I mean? But even when me and Michelle got married and got together, it was not at all the kind of super spiritual woohoo that we try to make it out to be. It just wasn't.
Yeah.
It was very normal.
It was.
Actually, it was very normal, and that's just how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Too many times we think, listen, let me tell you what it means to get a word from the Lord. You have peace from God about it.
Yeah.
See, and I never had peace. I had a word from the Lord. I think it was just my mind. I don't think it was the devil at all. I think it was just my head. I mean, there's that's a whole other video. But it was like, it just wasn't the Lord from the beginning, but I ignored it. I just didn't want to look at that because it's like, oh, it could not be the Lord. And I don't want it to not be the Lord. I want it to be the Lord, so it's the Lord.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah. And I just think, like, I know for myself, I also experienced that of just like thinking I was supposed to marry this person, and it was like, oh my gosh, he's the one. Like, God, I don't remember exactly, but it was also circumstances. Let me also just like, I was on a missions trip, and so there was really for a year,
yeah.
And there was only 9 of us on the team,
mm-hmm.
and like half the team, like we had 2 married couples, so that's 4 people out of the 9. Mm-hmm. So it's like there's really only 2 single guys that were on this team, and
it's your only option.
So it was like,
you gotta get a word from somebody.
I was living in another country, and it was just like one of those things where you can, especially if you go to Christian events, things like that, you can start to think, I have to find somebody here. Like, there are no other fish in the entire sea. I have to pick one. And so it was
you definitely weren't catching this fish in one of those.
No. And so it was just like, I just remember, praying, and it was like, all right, like, he's the one, and we're going to get married. But, and of course then, like, the whole time that I was on this trip, they actually had like a no dating rule, mm-hmm. and, for very good reasons. But so like the whole time I'm just thinking like, hey, well, we'd like to hang out, but he's not saying anything because he's not allowed to. And so like, your mind can just play with you. And then it was not until like after we'd gotten back, and then I found out he had a girlfriend, and I was like, oh, okay. For me personally, that just killed it. And it was just like, okay, I guess that wasn't the Lord.
Yeah.
But even while I was there, I was talking with a staff member, and she even told me, she's like, it's not, I mean, yes, there are times when God has told somebody, this person is going to be your spouse, before they ever started dating. Mm-hmm. But even she was like, it's more of the exception to the rule than the rule.
It's almost the exception to the exception.
Yeah. It's very rare. But there are many, many, many who feel like they hear from the Lord about somebody that they're supposed to marry. And I think that's, like, we also want to recognize, like, this is very common. And it's not something, like, I think you can start to maybe feel ashamed if you have been thinking you're going to marry somebody, but they end up, it's not actually true, or, you know, that sort of thing. And you can feel, like, ashamed because it's like, oh man, I totally missed it. And I think this applies to more than just marriage. It applies to just in life, when you thought you heard something from the Lord and it ended up not being the Lord. You can feel this, like, shame and kind of like a guilt of, like, man, I totally missed it and I messed up, and you don't want to share with other people this big mess up. Yeah. But
it's true. That's why it doesn't get talked about.
That's why nobody talks about it.
That's why no one ever talks about this.
Nobody says, like, oh man, yeah, I thought I was supposed to marry 10 girls, you know? It's like, because it's so common. And I think, though, when it comes down to it, a lot of times it's like, with relationships, it really is about compatibility. It's about, like, you know,
does she like you?
Do
you like her?
Yeah.
Do you know her last name?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you can think that, you know, you can, quote, fall in love with somebody that you haven't even talked to.
Right.
And because your mind goes to places, you allow your heart to go to places that it shouldn't even be going to, and you've never really even talked to the person. Yeah. You know, I think part of another thing too is just, like, when someone is interested in you, they're interested in you. Yeah. Like, they're
going to pursue you.
Yeah.
They're going to be asking you questions. They're going to be, you know. But if they're like, oh, hey, how's it? Oh, yeah. They're just being nice to you. Yeah. Then, no.
Yeah.
I mean, I had can I interrupt?
Of course.
Anyway, I had a friend of mine. We were, like, best friends ever. Like, best friends, okay? And I was just like, oh my gosh, she's amazing. Like, Lord, I don't even have to, a lot of times, I got to the place where I didn't even have to get the question out, and the Lord was like, no. I'm like, man, why are you always telling me no? Can I get a yes just once? It's like, but here, I'm hearing the Lord clearly on the no. But how am I hearing it? I'm hearing it, yes, the Lord will say to me sometimes no, or he'll speak in English in my mind or whatever. But most of the time, it's just like this red stoplight in the spirit. Just this sense of, like, the pulling of the reins on the horse. Just a sense of, like, no, you can't. And I would continue to pursue certain people, even though I felt that no. Because, you know, I'm testing the word. And it's like, there's just no peace in it. There's no peace to it at all. And if you feel like you've heard from the Lord and you have total peace, well, we'll see. You got to see how it works out. Yeah. Because if that person's not communicating with you, they don't want to have anything to do with you, not necessarily in a negative sense. Yeah. Their lives are totally different than yours. And it's just like, well, I'm just going to wait because one day they're going to come around. You know what? I tell you what, after 9 years, I went through everything that anybody's probably ever gone through. And it's like, no, they're not going to come around. No, they're not going to. And every time in fact, in my experience, every time I tried to communicate with this girl, oh my gosh, it was just like littered with, like, weirdness. That's all I'm going to say. It was just littered with weirdness and all kinds of jams and traffic jams and pitfalls. I was like, you know what? I should have recognized then, but I just didn't. I was like, this is the Lord saying, this is not me. It's like, this is not a smooth path. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, etc., 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 and he will make your path straight. It was never a straight path with this girl. It was never a straight path. And I was just like, okay. I was just like, whatever, you know. And then I'd have great, like, sisters, girlfriends, friends who were girls, who were also my sisters in the Lord when I was doing YWAM during 1998, 99, and all that, made some amazing relationships. But the Lord told me before, now you need to listen to this, because the Lord told me before I went there, and this was clearly the Lord. It was one of those like moments that like encounters, burning bush moments that I have like, 2-3 times a year. Seriously. And the Lord was like, man, you're gonna get to YWAM, because I was really, really struggling with whether God wanted me to go.
Yeah.
I mean, I was struggling so bad. When you're struggling super bad on anything, it's a great place to be.
Yeah.
Because then God can prove himself.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, Lord, I am without power to do anything on my own, to believe in this or step out in it or whatever I just need you to help me. He has the ability to just prove himself that, like, yes, this is so me, or it's not.
Yeah.
And he just definitely got me there to YWAM, but he was just like, and it was a smooth path. It was a roll out the red carpet path, is what it was. But before I went to YWAM, the Lord was telling me, you're going to have all these girls, you're going to be able to have girl relationships. Up to that point of like almost, 27, I never really had any. And he's like, I want you to go and make as many relationships as you possibly can. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. But none of them are going to be your wife. That's what he told me. I tell you what, I must have asked him about 20 girls. I'm serious, man. I remember there was this one girl. She's so just awesome. And I saw her like mowing the grass at YWAM. And I just turned and I was like, Lord, no. I was like, dang, I couldn't even get the Lord out. I couldn't even get the D at the end of Lord out. And you're like, no. Mm-hmm. It's like, how many times I got to tell you, no. But see, that's the thing. If you hear from the Lord clearly, and he says, hey, this is a no, but you go against that, well, then you're going to expect to suffer. You got to expect to. But what would you say to people who feel like they are doing all the right things, but they still feel confused about the situation? They feel like, well, I did all this, and I really still feel like it's the Lord. And what would you say to them?
Well, I would definitely, I think when it comes to relationships, there has to be relationship. I think that
wow, that's profound.
If there is, I think if it's like something where it's like, ooh, I feel like it's a yes, but there isn't any relationship developing, that could really be an indicator that it's a no, that it really isn't from the Lord.
Right.
Because if you're going to marry somebody, you need to be able to talk and communicate with them. Yeah. And because there's two people involved, you might be thinking it's, oh yes, like the Lord has said yes, but that person might be like, no.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm not even interested in that at this time in my life. And I think that's really a big part of it. If you are interested in someone and you're wondering, is he the one, is she the one, there needs to be communication.
I wouldn't even go that direction. I just for my own personal wisdom that God's sowed into my life, I wouldn't even ask that question. I wouldn't even go that route. I would just be like, if you feel like, man, this person could be my husband, this person could be my wife, okay, cool, man, keep that to yourself and just develop the relationship,
Yeah.
Let it develop on its own. And at some point, sooner than you think, maybe, you might talk about marriage like right away.
Yeah.
Or later on, but just,
Well, but I'm thinking more of like, just like, even initiating like conversation. Maybe you guys have been hanging out, you're good friends, but it's like, do we even want to pursue this in a romantic, like, do we want to take it to the next level of, okay, we want to actually start dating each other? Because I think even that, you can just be hung up in this like, oh, maybe they like me, but maybe they don't. Like, I think that it's good to even just kind of address the elephant in the room kind of thing, which can be scary and it can be hard, but at the same time, it can also help you move past.
Yeah.
Like, if you find out they're just like, I just don't see us like that, then at least you know. And
Yep.
you can say like, all right, you know what? Maybe I didn't hear from the Lord, and so I can keep going with my life.
Now here's the danger. Well, you know what? I don't like you like that. That's okay. The Lord told me you're going to be my husband, so I'm just going to keep believing. You're in trouble.
Yeah.
It's like, that's okay. The Lord told me you were going to be my wife, so I'll just wait for you to come around. He's going to speak to you. You're in trouble.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, don't do that. Because I've had a lot of addressing the elephant in the room, particularly some of my really close ones. I've had about, like, there's 4 that come to the top of my mind that were just super close with me during my whole YWAM phase for like 2 to 4 years there. And there are people I still know to this day, but it's like, we had to talk about it because we were so close, and we just kept getting closer and closer. It's like we just wanted to we just want to hang out with each other. That's it.
Yeah.
Not that exclusive relationship type of thing, but it's just like when you thought, oh, who do I want to hang out with today? That person would we would always find each other. So it was developing this definitely a relationship that makes you question, man, is this something more than just friendship? Then you have to talk about it.
Yeah.
You have to at least, so it's like, because if your friendship is really of that level of quality, it can handle that conversation.
Yeah.
It absolutely can. It's just like, okay, well, I'm glad we got that out the way. It's, I can tell you so many stories.
And I think, too, like, if it is a situation where it's like, okay, maybe you don't even talk to the person at all, like, I would just let it go, personally.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Because
that was my situation.
Yeah.
I hardly ever talked to this girl. And I mean, like, hardly ever. And I'm just like, what am I believing? You know what I mean? Like, what am I believing this thing for? And it's like, that's so weird. So, I mean, I would greatly encourage you guys to check out the video that I made before Michelle became a permanent fixture. Why deception works. It answers so many questions as to why then do we hold on to things? Why do we get deceived? Why does God allow that to happen? He never allows it.
Yeah.
He's constantly trying to help and help and help and help. But if you're like, no, I'm going to continue to believe this, and he's like, what kind of help you want God to give you? You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. And I think, too, like, just in general, like, I think when it comes to relationships, because it is both people, there's 2 people involved, I just think that, for me personally, I feel like it shouldn't be like pulling teeth to even begin the relationship.
Come on.
It shouldn't be this thing that's like, wow, well, I put in, like, just a lot of effort just to get this thing off the ground.
It's not a business.
I think that when it comes to relationships, especially if you're going towards marriage, that it really is something that it takes 2 people for it to work. It takes 2 people who are like, hey, like, this is something that we want to pursue. Let's go after it, And I know, like, it's not every relationship is going to work out. Because as you get to know somebody deeper and more, like, you might find out things that you're just like, okay, this isn't going to work for me. But then at the same time, you can also have relationships where it's like, wow, this really is going towards marriage. And so you can start pursuing that. And I think, definitely just pray. Like, always pray. I mean, God wants to speak to us about everything. And but also just be aware that because it's an area where there's actual hormones involved that and just emotions, that to just be aware of that and to really evaluate what you're hearing, but also look at the relationship itself. If the person that you're interested in, you already see things in that person that you're like, ooh, I don't know about that, then don't pursue it. Like, don't even, like, I would say that's a no. Like, oh, there can be other people. Like, I just think that you have to look at it in real life too. In real life. And not just, because I think what can happen is when God is involved, sometimes we can make things into a fairy tale.
Right.
And so we start not seeing things in reality and
Right.
what is true of a person. And so
or
you
true
can
about life in general.
Yeah, and so you
know?
can like start, creating this image of this person that's not necessarily true. And so it's really important to really look at that person, look at your own life, how are things really going to work? And if it's like, well, he's great, but there is this one issue, but I really believe God is going to work something amazing in his life, and he's just going to move past that issue. It's like,
well, because we all have issues.
Yeah, of
right?
course.
And it's like you're going to find issues in the person. But I think what you're saying is an issue that makes you go, ooh.
Yeah.
No. That's what's the problem.
Because if that's already there and you don't even have a relationship yet, it's like, oh, that could be a really big issue.
I mean, because we saw issues in each other, but it was not like, it wasn't a deal breaker.
No.
You're talking about deal breaker issues.
Yeah, I'm talking about deal breaker issues.
See, in the situation in the word of the Lord I got for this particular girl, man, there was like 2 or 3 of them that popped up like almost instantly.
Yeah.
And it's like God's just trying to be like, do you see that? The truth of the matter is this. When you go to marry a person, will you marry that person if they are who they are for the rest of their lives? They do not change. That's who they are. You're going to marry them. If your answer is yes, then, you got some more stuff to pray about. Yeah. You know what I mean? But if it's like, I really don't want that and that, it's like trying on a shirt or some pants
jeans or something.
Or house shopping. If there's things like, well, I really don't want that, well, then you're not going to really be able to live with it.
Yeah. You're
going to live in that house and you're going to be just like, why did I compromise?
Yeah.
You're gonna buy that blouse or whatever it is, and it's gonna hang up in your closet
with the tag still on it for like 3 years.
Because you're like, well, it'll work.
Yeah.
You don't ever want to go into a relationship with it'll work.
Yeah.
Kind of mentality. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Of course, we could say more.
Yes.
But
it's a big topic.
It's a big topic. So. If you guys have any further questions on this issue, we will surely reply to all the comments when we get a chance.
Yeah. Or if you have more questions, if like some of the stuff we've said stirs up questions, please put those in the comments.
Q&A Friday.
And we'll try and get those addressed as well.
Yeah.
But like I said, this is a huge topic. You could probably spend hours and hours just talking about it.
Books have been written.
And but I just think overall it's just, go to the Lord and just be praying about it, but realize too it's like it's relationship. It takes 2 people and so
it's the peace of God that is the word of the Lord. If you don't have a peace either way, then it's probably just like, okay, let's go find out.
Yeah.
But this is like, I don't know. That's the lack of peace.
Yeah.
That's God's wisdom trying to say, hey. But if you're just like, let's... Because I remember with you, when I found out you weren't baptized in the Spirit, I was like, oh, that's it. That's the disappointment I was waiting for. Check, please. Let's get out of here because that's my life right now. Disappointment and seeking a wife that you told me to seek. And now here I am just in front of another disappointment. And the Lord was like, no, hold on a second, buddy. Hold on. And I just knew it was the Lord going, stay in there. And sure enough, I was like, okay. And we were like instant friends.
Yeah.
It was just awesome. It was a smooth path and all those things that we've already talked about.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, and that was, like, for me personally, like we met and, like, that night, I really did. I felt like the peace of God. And I just knew, like, hey, this is the man that I'm going to marry. And
she told me that 9 days later.
Don't suggest doing that. Just in general, which is hilarious because
you would never do that. That is so against you. Like you would never do something like that. You would never counsel anyone to do that. But that's what you did. It's so funny.
It's hilarious.
Anyway, we're running long.
Yes, we are, and we've got like 3 minutes.
3 minutes left on our camera battery, but we did good.
So, Yeah, so
That's so funny.
we just hope that you guys are blessed by this, that this might maybe help some of you out there with this question about, like, is she the one, is he the one? And again, if you have any comments, just leave them down below.
Yeah.
And so until next time, guys, we'll see you later.
See you next Monday with this relationship topic stuff.
Yes.
So.
All right.
Bye,
See
guys.
ya.